I can't even look at you right now.
It's okay. I know where this is going. It's okay. Just breathe. It's okay.
This week, Katie shocked Bachelor Nation and made the heartbreaking decision to send Connor home. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We have got to talk about Connor's devastating Bachelorette exit, but before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the wonderful Zachary Reality. Zachary, so many hearts broke last night when Connor was sent home. We have got to get into everything that happened. Obviously, Connor started the season off really strong. He showed up in his catsuit. It seemed like his and Katie's connection was sort of steadily building from then on. And this week, he, of course, finally got his one-on-one date. He joined Jason and Kaitlyn and, of course, Katie for a laid-back, barbecue-themed double date. But during it, Katie told Kaitlyn that she was looking to feel that spark between them. It almost seemed like from the first moment of their date, it was sort of make or break for Connor. At the end, though, they did kiss, and I think a lot of fans certainly hoped that there was enough spark in that kiss to keep Connor safe. Zachary, at the end of that day portion of the date, after they shared that kiss, how were you feeling? Did you think he was going to go home? Did you think he was safe? Did you see their connection? What were your thoughts?
You know, it's hard because Connor was one of the frontrunners right out of the gate. You know, he showed up in the cat costume. They shared an intimate kiss on night one, which was a huge deal. And I feel like throughout the season, her connection with him kind of flustered out. It kind of faded out, and she developed a lot stronger connections with other guys. So going into this double date was kind of a make or break for Connor. Like, he really had to deliver, and Katie really had to kiss him to know. You know, when you have to kiss someone to really know if that connection is still there? Because we haven't really seen them kiss in a minute. So as soon as she kissed him, I had a feeling that it was over. I know she was being really hopeful in her conversation with Kaitlyn, but as soon as that kiss happened, it just felt a little off and awkward. And obviously, you know, fast forward to what happened, I wasn't too surprised. I think that Connor the Cat's time was unfortunately up, but he will always be a living legend in Bachelor Nation.
See, yeah, I'm totally with you. Obviously, she talked a lot about their friendship. And so when I saw that kiss, I was like, oh, great, they kissed. Like, it worked. He fixed everything. Because I think I just really wanted to root for him. And like, Kaitlyn brought up their friendship. Like, Katie and Connor have a great rapport. They do have really fun banter. He makes her laugh. But if the spark is missing, the spark is missing. And like you said, we all know what happened. She, of course, showed up to Connor's room in jeans and a hoodie, which is never a good sign. She was crying before he even opened the door. And I think truly this is when the writing was on the wall. We all knew what was coming. She was very honest with Connor, which I think is a hard thing to do, and some leads don't provide the kind of clarity that Katie did. She didn't leave him with a bunch of question marks. She told him that it really just came down to that final bit of chemistry, that final spark, like we mentioned. And what was so touching, I think, to everyone watching at home was as we saw Katie struggling, you know, with her emotions and her sadness over the breakup. As Connor was literally getting his heart broken, he still was such a nice guy that he comforted her. I mean, Zachary, I was blown away by the way he handled this moment. What were your thoughts?
I think it's one of those things where it's actually harder to be the one breaking up with someone than it is to be the one getting broken up with. It's almost more of an emotional toll for Katie, who has to break it to Connor. After he got all dressed up and ready, he looked super spiffy in that suit. He thought he was going on a date, and she's showing up, as you mentioned, in her sweatshirt and her jeans. You know, it's probably a lot harder for Katie to break up with him, and it's hard to break up with people a million times like Katie is doing. So I'm glad that Connor was able to show the maturity and take it in. I think Connor probably knows, or maybe he got clarity when he left the show, that maybe they were just more of a friendship. And at this point, I feel like it's really obvious, you know, to the guys in the house who Katie's strongest connections are. And not next week, but the week after is hometowns. Like, if you are not on that page and you are not falling in love, it's better to be gone now, because it's only going to hurt later on, especially if, you know, he ends up meeting her family or she ends up meeting his family. So I think that Connor handled it like a champ, and we're hoping we see him in Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that when you have a guy as good as Connor, right, where you can look at him on paper and know that he has such a kind heart, he really does care about you, all of those things, to actually have to muster up the strength to hurt that person is really difficult. So I do think Katie handled it really well on her end as well. But the heartbreak doesn't end here, you guys. It doesn't end between Katie and Connor. He went to say goodbye to the men in the house, and when they heard the news, multiple men cried. We're talking multiple men instantly breaking into tears. We actually saw a lot of these guys crying, a lot of these shots in some of the earlier teasers, and we're trying to figure out what the heck it could mean between them and Katie. Lo and behold, it was just their hearts being broken by Connor. We saw Greg, Trey, and Andrew S. all take it pretty hard. There was a moment where Michael A. gave him a goodbye kiss on his cheek, and Twitter absolutely had a field day with that. It really did seem like there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Really, what the guys were struggling with is how could someone as nice as Connor ever be sent home off of a one-on-one? If Connor can't make it, what hope is there, for the rest of the guys? We rarely see something like this, Zachary. I can't think back to a moment like this from any recent past season. I think it goes to show between this and the roast that there is a lot of respect between the guys in the house, and they really do care for each other, which honestly, it really says something about them.
See, I feel like the guys get so close over time, especially when they're like stuck in this little bubble in New Mexico. They're not traveling and doing these adventures. They're spending so much more time together than they are with Katie. So it's so obvious that they're going to get really close. And I feel like Connor the Cat was probably the most likable guy in the house. It seems like a lot of guys were really close to him and formed those deep connections. We saw a few shots of him and Greg cuddling, on the couch throughout the season. We loved that bromance, but it really struck me that Trey was in complete tears. He was having a nervous breakdown, a mental breakdown. He was sobbing, he was crying. I mean, Trey was taking it so hard. And then fast forward to when Trey got eliminated at the rose ceremony, he took it hard, but not like as hard as he took it when Connor left. It almost felt like some of the guys were more in love with Connor the Cat than they were in love with Katie, which just goes to show how much of an amazing guy Connor the Cat was. But I think, like I mentioned, at this point in the season, if you are not in love, if there is not that romantic spark, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means that the spark isn't there. And Katie described it as like something was missing that you can't control. You have all the qualities that I like, but something else is missing. You need that spark and you cannot write that. So I think that was probably a wake-up call for some of the guys that, you know what? We're at this point in the season where you're either with Katie or you are getting friend zoned and there is no in between. Obviously, everyone is a great guy if you made it up until this point.
Yeah, especially with the way, these men have banded together week after week to very intentionally weed out men that they weren't sure about as a house for themselves and for Katie. So it does really feel like at this point, it's going to be harder and harder each week. It is safe to say that many fans out there are devastated. I think everyone felt like they were in that room with the men crying, trying to process Connor's exit. He really was, like we said earlier, a front runner for a lot of people. And I think Twitter, Bachelor Nation Twitter kind of went into mourning after his exit. One fan tweeted, "That could have very well been the most heartbreaking episode in Bachelorette history. Even the men were crying as he left. Don't hit me up for 3 to 4 business days as I try to process. Thank you." And even though that tweet is incredible on its own, the best part is Katie actually shared that tweet herself and she wrote, "Same." Obviously, listen, watching that back must have been very difficult for Katie, very difficult for Connor. But Zachary, as you mentioned earlier, all hope isn't lost. A lot of fans are crossing their fingers, praying to the Bachelor gods that we get to see Connor in paradise. What are your thoughts on this?
First of all, I love Bachelor Nation Twitter. People have me cracking up and dying on there. And of course, I want to see Connor the Cat in Bachelor in Paradise. And let me emphasize, I want to see Connor the Cat in Bachelor in Paradise. He needs to show up in a cat costume, prepared to find his cat girl, whatever the term is. Is there like a term for a cat girl? Cat girl? He needs to find a cat girl. But we need Connor the cat in Bachelor in Paradise, falling in love. There is some great options in Paradise. You know, the list was revealed last week. We saw there was Queen Victoria, there was going to be Abigail, there was going to be possibly even Chelsea showing up. There's going to be a lot of great options in Bachelor in Paradise. So, of course, we want Connor the cat to fall in love. Everyone already knows what a great guy he is. His story was so heartbreaking. He also knows how to play the guitar. He can write you a song. Connor the cat is a catch. So I feel like if he goes to Paradise, a lot of the girls might be super interested in him. So we can only hope to see him there.
I totally agree with you. I definitely hope he's in Paradise. I hope he ends up with a wonderful person, whether it's in Paradise or just in his real life, because you are so right. He's definitely a catch. There are a lot of people rooting for him out there. So only time will tell you guys where Connor the cat's future is going to lead him. For now, that is everything we have to share with you guys. We want to know your thoughts on his exit. Did it break your heart? Are you hoping to find him on the beach in Paradise? Let us know down in the comments. And of course, if you are not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future updates. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the incredible Zachary Reality. If you want to come say hi, check out our socials. They are on the screen right now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Yeah.